in with us. And you're going to be talking about the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I'm going to say once again, that this is such an important subject because this is where the government is able to unleash the woke agenda on the public and particularly on young people.
Yes, thanks, Brian. I'm actually reminded a bit of the report that Ben gave us, I believe it was last week, on the event that happened in Trafalgar Square in London, because we're seeing these things coming out through arts and culture. And this is a perfect way to look at the things that are coming out into the public through this. So I want to start, first of all, with just saying I was in Edinburgh at this festival from Friday to Sunday. I just came home yesterday evening and I took several photos. And so I just want to talk you through some things that I saw just walking out in the streets, as well as talking about some of the events that I attended. So as anyone who's ever seen, if you've ever been in Edinburgh in August, you know that a photo such as this one show that there are posters all over the city where they appear on different places, I think in this case on lampposts. We can also see as well that they're on the sides of the fences that are surrounding sort of all the neighborhoods around the city. There's a couple of examples here of all these different events. One is called Lesbian Space Crime. That's right there. There's also, I didn't go to that one, but the title certainly struck my attention. We can see over on the right side of the photo, very small, the LEZ low emission zone that has gone into effect in Edinburgh. So we're starting to see the climate agenda as well as the LGBT agenda sort of going through everything. Here's a close-up of one of the posters that I saw called A Stan is Born, not a star necessarily, a love letter to all the divas and the gays who seen them, I guess, with the rainbow, and we can't really tell who this is or what's going on. This was one of the flyers that I was handed. So what happens is when you're sitting around just having a drink or something to eat, a lot of times people will come up to you and hand their little flyers to you about their shows that they're advertising. This one to me was one that was handed to me, and it looked particularly evil, satanic, if you ask me. I don't really know what it was about, but we can see the photo with the person sort of half human, half not human, the cigarette with, and it says a safe space for losers, put them up. And all of the red and yellow imagery, sort of the fire imagery, just made me feel personally extremely uncomfortable. Going on from there, this was just part of my walking when I was going to an event. This was a primary school in Edinburgh, and the fence is painting rainbow colors. So we're seeing once again just the imagery of the rainbow kind of surrounding everything that seems to be going in front of children nowadays, including the gate that goes into their own primary school. After that, what do we have? This was something that was sitting in the Pleasance area with the courtyard where we were sitting having a drink. I don't really know the story behind this, but I thought it was interesting. Help us, #GetToZero. New HIV transmissions in Scotland by 2030. So what was behind that, I'm not sure, but I just keep seeing this 2030 over and over again in pretty much everything. This was the first event that I attended this was on Friday afternoon. This is nothing in particular that was terribly alarmist about it one way or the other, but just to give you an example of a lot of things that you'll see at the Fringe Festival. This was called Out of My Head, Alan Watts is Alive and Well Dead, presented by a one-man show by a man called Jeremy Stockwell. This was about Alan Watts, who was a British and American philosopher of counterculture. You can read about him. He's kind of an interesting individual. Whether or not I agree with his philosophies, I'm not entirely sure, but Jeremy Stockwell was kind of going back and forth between being himself and being Alan Watts in the show. What was interesting about it, though, is the trigger warnings, right? So we have the trigger warning saying it contained theme references to mortality and aging with brief reference to hospital and alcohol. So trigger warnings everywhere. The next show that I saw was Michael Elsner, who is from Switzerland. He was described in the program as a former late night host, political scientist, and queer artist. There was a big focus on the queer in this particular presentation, delivering offbeat perspective, spot-on impressions. Can his secret Swiss recipe save the world? So his question was about how to live in paradise. One of the things that I didn't find particularly insightful at all, and he was a comedian, but I don't think I laughed a single time in the entire event, was saying that his idea of paradise, or one of his ideas of paradise, which he ended with, was the feeling of using the loo when you really need to do so. So whether or not that's paradise, I don't know. But what was speaking of the loo, when I used the loo in the event venue, which was the Gilded Balloon at the University of Edinburgh, we can put this up on the screen. We see things in the University of Edinburgh, which again is one of the highest ranked universities in the world, apparently. But it would seem as though the adults that go to the University of Edinburgh don't know to take care of themselves in the bathroom. So we see a very cartoonish person of somebody sitting on the loo saying, we all have bad days, but remember, this is a shared bathroom. So please clean up after yourself. Be kind. There's that message again to everyone who uses this space. And also in the same loo was another photo that I took telling people to always remember to keep the toilet clean, flush properly. Don't throw certain products into the toilet that don't belong there. Don't stand on the toilet when you're using it. Please sit down. And finally, remember to wash your hands. So again, university messaging, basically an infantilization of the people who are there, in my opinion. So to sort of refresh from that a bit, on Saturday morning, this was an event that was actually not part of the Fringe Festival, but the Edinburgh International Festival, which happens around the same time. There are several other festivals, including the Book Festival, that happen in August in Edinburgh, in addition to the Fringe. This one was Colin Curry, who's a marimba percussionist player, along with the King's Singers, which generally was very nice. It is worth noting, however, that the theme was about death overall in their program. It was recorded for the BBC Radio 3 broadcast. But two particular things that I really enjoyed was the performance of an English madrigal from 1608 by Thomas Wilkes called Death Hath Deprived Me. So again, the theme of death. There was a world premiere by Sir James Macmillan, who's a Scottish composer. The surtitles were really kind of fun, though, because they were written in sort of Scots or at least Glaswegian language, and they said they tried to sing in that particular dialect. After that, I went to what was the most political thing I attended, at least overtly political, was Ian Dale, who was the presenter of the evening show on LBC Radio, and he was interviewing Rachel Reeves. We have a photo of the two of them together that I took. I'm not sure if we can get that on screen really quickly, where we talked about, she was saying, well, she was the first female chancellor of the Exchequer in the country. So again, this is Rachel from accounts, as some people call her online. She talked about Margaret Thatcher proving that she could do the job as prime minister, and she watched her growing up. There's quite a bit of discussion around women that have taken these roles. Again, I'm personally more interested as a woman as whoever can do the job the best, whether or not they are male or female. But this was a particular focus of the conversation. She talked a little bit about how she got into politics. She joined the party in 1996 when she was in sixth form, and talked about getting involved in campaigns and so on. She didn't really talk a whole lot about the issue of the national debt or any of the budgetary issues to any extent, although there was quite a bit of focus on things around net zero, her concern about net zero not being so popular in the polls, the rise of reform, saying that reform and the conspiracy theories around net zero that reform apparently brings are concerns of hers, and they know that they are more of a competitor for them coming up into the next election, but potentially more than the Tories. Issues around Corbyn's new party. Is this reform on the left? And then she talked a lot about her day when she cried during Prime Minister's questions a few weeks ago, and how difficult it was to see the coverage, that she was in tears during that particular day. And she just said, I just had a difficult day. I couldn't help it. So we were asked in some cases to provide written questions to her that were supposed to be answered at the end. That she didn't really answer a lot of the questions that she was given directly, except for the very last one, which Ian Dale read from the audience. And he said, well, we have a lot of questions here about the national debt, but here's the one that I really want to ask you is, who has the best hair in the Labour Party? To which she went on to a long story about how her hair color got changed when she was just trying to make it shinier, and how stressful that was, and what she was dealing with her hairdresser and her hairstyle. So again, if she wants to dispel the idea that women cannot be politicians, I don't think that she did herself a lot of favor by ending her time talking about her hairdresser, Brian.
She could have stopped the question dead because it was ridiculous and concentrated on the important thing. But significantly, I'm going to say, like a child, she didn't. She went with the fun side. So more of it. Just cover the rock opera briefly, Diane, and then we'll go to your final image.
Yes, sorry. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Chancellor of the Exchequer. This was the favorite thing, personally speaking, and potentially one of the most meaningful things that I attended at the festival. This is called Dystopia, the Rock Opera. So we had people in masks, but the masks were not COVID-type masks. They were masks of Putin, of the North Korean leader, of Trump, and other people. So this was a particularly fantastic event. I will have more about this in extra time.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we must end there. So a new course available, apparently.
Yes. So this was something I saw on social media. Keir Starmer has a course on offer, and it says, want a new challenge? Retrain as a lefty. 2-day courses, no previous experience needed. Full tuition in twisting the truth, toxic wokeness, unaccountability, sense of entitlement, cancel culture, fence-sitting, zero personality, virtue signaling, and finally, how to be offended by everything and anything. I think I need to sign up for that because I am not good at any of that, Brian.
Okay, well, we'll end there. Big thank you to our audience. Thank you to Ben and you, Diane, for being with me today. Learning and understanding the attack against us is the most important thing. Stay calm, carry on, call out the people really driving the chaos and madness. That is the task of the wider UK population, and UK Column will do everything it can. We will do everything we can to get that knowledge out there. That's it for today. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.